comes to mind when I read that story is that think about how, well actually no, I was gonna say think about how thankful you would be if you were a lost hiker and your phone was dead and you could charge it. But then there's probably no service. But the second thing that comes to mind is alien base, or like a secret military alien underground base, right? How else can you explain a random desk with a live electrical outlet in the middle of the woods? It's not just like the woods down the street, they're in the middle of nowhere. That creeps me out. That one really creeps me out. I would be out of there so quickly if that was me. Okay, so story number 2. I'm not a ranger, but I was hiking in Andorra with a friend. Long story short, we got lost off the trail and ended up in Spain. Found another trail and were following it without a map. A while ahead of us, we see a man with 2 golden retrievers walking in the same direction we are. He looks young and he's carrying climbing gear over his shoulder. We're rushing down the trail to catch up with him and finally do. We ask him for help with directions and he tells us exactly where we are and where we need to be. About 12 kilometers away, there's a town with a hotel. He says there's another, smaller town about 6 kilometers away, and then he parked his car there. He says he can give us a lift for the last 6 kilometers if we like, but says that he's in a hurry. We are over the moon, and so we hike together for a while. The dogs are nice and friendly, running circles around us. We're chatting away to the guy, and he is really nice. But my friend and I are getting tired, and so we cannot keep pace with him for long. The trail bends away to the right, and the man, now a bit ahead of us, disappears behind the bend. We get there a couple of minutes later, and the trail is empty. No man and no dogs, even though the trail is a straight run for quite a while, and we should have been able to see them. The 2 of us continue on, alarmed, waiting to hear or see something, but perhaps be murdered by a stranger. But there's nothing. We get to the town eventually, and from there made it to the safe property was right next to where the park started. To call it the middle of nowhere is an understatement. My roommate at the time was interning with the pack service, but he is a city kid. Every evening at the dead of night, I had been hearing noises in the woods, what I thought was someone walking. But then they just stop in particularly overgrown areas of the jungle, so your mind starts to doubt itself. Is it a pig? A cat? Is it just the wind? The cabin didn't have a locking door, and the owners didn't want me to install one, so I began sleeping in my car. Now, this is a huge property, and I'd park my car over an acre away from the cabin and where I was hearing something. I started hearing those footsteps again. I moved out. My roommate, who thought I was bonkers, stayed and still slept there without a locking door. He got robbed not once but twice after I moved out, so he finally put up motion trigger cameras. Turns out there was a man with a long rifle who'd hike up to the property, set up in the bushes, and watch us. No. I'm out. I'm out. Can you imagine? Like, you have this paradise in the woods, this beautiful cabin. You're surrounded by nothing but nature and quietness, and it's amazing, right? But then you start hearing something creepy, and it's creepy enough that you do not feel safe in your cabin, even though you're in the middle of nowhere. You're so creeped out, you sleep in your car. And then when you check your security cameras, there's a random guy just in the bushes watching you. This is why I don't go in the woods. Alright, story number 4. Okay. So, I was the lone recreation ranger in a small district in southern Idaho. I feel like I say Idaho weird. Idaho. Nearest town from guard station stepping out of the vehicle, I looked to the right of the cabin, about 50 feet from my front door. All I could see were two eyes, about 3.5 to 4 feet in the air. To say that I was freaked out was an understatement. I started yelling, "Get the F out of here," but the eyes only crouched down and inched closer. At this point, I could tell it was a large animal of some kind, but it was definitely not a coyote. I tossed a piece of firewood in the general area, and the creature leaped back a bit, but did not make a sound. I tossed 4 or 5 more pieces, and the creature still inched forward. At this point, I fumbled with the keys. Of course, the effing solar power was out again. I managed to get inside and grab my shotgun. Technically, you are not supposed to have guns in government housing, but who the F lives in the hills have eyes, backcountry, and does not carry? I would agree with that one. I went outside. Creature was a bit closer. Still could not get a good look with my shitty headlamp. I loaded the shotgun and continued to throw pieces of wood with one hand. Finally, the creature walked back into the bush. That night, I drank about 4 IPAs and slept with my shotgun. In the morning, trail crew came up and we found mountain lion tracks all over the porch, rocking bench, and compound leading back to the creek. After that event, I always heard the rocking chair move and someone or something walking on the porch, but never found any tracks after that point. Considering that it was always muddy up there, it was really weird not to find any tracks. I've been stalked by mountain lions before and never had that eerie feeling like I did in the woods. Sasquatch. Skinwalker. No. What are the ones? What are they called? They're from, I think they're Canadian. It's an indigenous folkloric creature they were humans, but they're now cannibals. Oh, what are they called? That's what I think of when I hear that. And just that one night, there happened to be a cougar. Can you imagine? Cougars scare me, or mountain lions, or pumas, whatever you want to call them. I call them cougars. And I think they are one of the main reasons that I really have no interest in going into the woods or going hiking or anything like that. Which is just kind of sad because I love being outdoors. Can you hear the fire? You very well could have. But at the same time, I don't remember where I heard this, but I think I've heard before that dogs can also be kind of an attractant for cougars. Like, you think that if you have your big dog with you, they would automatically not want to come near you. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Please don't quote me on that. I have to look it up. You have to look it up. friend